Today we're going to show you step by step how to shoot 16mm film on a 60-year-old camera.
Film was the dominant medium until digital sensors began to improve and companies like Sony, Panasonic, and Canon began to mass produce digital video cameras. Even industry icons like ARRI, known for their impressive 16mm and 35mm cameras, made the switch over to digital. These consumer-level products were significantly easier and cheaper to use than old 8mm and 16mm cameras. You didn't have to pay to have the film develop. Rather, you could shoot onto small memory cards that could be erased and reused. This essentially killed the consumer film market. Kodak, the largest producer of film, still exists today mainly due to their 35mm and 65mm motion picture film. These are used on big budget films and productions such as Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey and Paul Thomas Anderson's One Battle After Another. Some directors shoot in both formats, film and digital. Other filmmakers are purists. All of Quentin Tarantino's films have been shot on film. None have been digital to this point. Some directors, such as David Cronenberg, argue that film isn't worth the hassle. Cronenberg believes that there's nothing today that can't be achieved or replicated by using digital imaging. So why do some filmmakers only shoot on film? There are a lot of reasons why you would want to shoot on film, and some may not make sense to you, but stick with me. First of all, film is beautiful. You usually get this soft, glowy image that are pleasant to the eye. In many ways, the stock is the style. So that's if what you're going for, you know in advance what you're gonna get. Another reason is just the magic of it. Capturing film feels like a risk because there's a lot of risk involved. If you don't expose properly, you may not even have an image, and you won't know this until after the film has been processed. There's this waiting period that's kind of amazing whenever you shoot film, and that's a big reason why a lot of people like to shoot on film. It's just waiting to see what you get, and feels like Christmas opening up that film and seeing what's in there. There are many ways you can protect yourself from the film not exposing, and we'll go over them today, but still there's a certain magic to getting your film back from the lab and seeing those images burned onto that silver celluloid. You harness light that's traveled hundreds of thousands of miles to capture a moment for just 1/24th of a second at a time. It's pretty impressive and pretty amazing when you think about it. Finally, film requires you to slow down. You have to double and triple check things, and that's good on a film set. There's so much commotion and moving parts making a film that slowing down is actually often advantageous. Film forces you to take time and focus on what you're doing, or you'll burn money really fast. So I've personally been dying to shoot some film for a really long time. I've never shot film really. I've never shot 16 or 35mm. I have shot some 8mm in the past, but all of those projects are lost onto some hard drives. Shooting 8mm is definitely not the same as shooting 16 or 35. So earlier this year, I picked up a camera to get myself back into it, and I thought I should make a video about this whole process. A lot of you aren't going to be able to pick up 400 rolls of film and rent an ARRI SR3 for a weekend, but a lot of you can do what I did, and that's get your hands on a camera like a Bolex, a Canon Scopic, or in my case, the Bell & Howell 240 Electric Eye. It's a 16mm movie camera produced by Bell & Howell in the mid-1950s. It's notable for its EE, which is an auto exposure system designed to adjust the aperture on lighting conditions. I haven't tested it myself, and I don't even know if the electronics inside still work. I doubt it. I can see some corrosion. This camera is one of 4 models in the 240 series, with the 240EE being the most expensive and advanced out of all of them. It features a fixed 20mm lens with an f1.9 aperture. It's a spring-wound motor capable of various speeds from 8 frames to 64 frames per second. Upon release, this camera was originally priced at $329, which is roughly $3,500 today. That's about the cost of an FX3 body, so I wouldn't call this a consumer camera at all, even when it came out. It was definitely a little on the higher price side, so it wasn't something your average person was going to buy to be shooting film on. It was something a little more advanced. This camera is also a tank. It doesn't look like it, but it is very heavy and it is incredibly solidly built. Really, really great camera. Mine seems to be in excellent condition other than this oxidization underneath the electric eye here. Not a big deal. I can get it cleaned up, and I don't actually plan on using the electric eye. This camera takes 100-foot spools of film and has an auto-threading mechanism that simplifies film loading, making it a popular choice for beginners in the 16mm filmmaking area. Loading the film is the scariest part of the whole process. You don't want to waste your film or burn it. The 240 helps simplify that. So this might be a good choice for you if you're getting new into it and loading film is scary to you. The camera can use both single and double perforated 16mm film, offering a lot of flexibility in your choices, whether you're picking modern or vintage stock. This might be handy if you're buying like expired stock on eBay. You might get some 2perf. But 2 perforation stock isn't very common. I believe Canon still has some 2perf available, but I think it's special order only. For the most part, you're only going to see 1 perforated 16mm film available. So this camera has the ability to shoot as slow as 8 frames per second and then all the way up to 48 frames per second. I believe earlier I said 64 frames. That's actually incorrect. It's 48 frames. The shutter speed is fixed depending on which frame rate you choose. So if you're shooting at what we see as standard 24 frames per second now, the shutter is going to open up at 1/65th of a second, which is kind of an unusual shutter speed. Shooting at 16 frames per second will give you a shutter speed of 1/43rd per second. That's a little unusual, but closer to kind of what we see as standard. That leads me to believe that this camera was most likely meant to be shot at 16 frames per second and played back at that speed. You'll get more out of a roll of film if you do that than if you shoot at 24 frames per second, but I am going to shoot at 24 frames per second. There's a little spot underneath the electric eye right here. I'll show you, see if we can get that in focus. It's this little silver knob. You can actually unscrew that right there, and it's called the cable release. And what this does is it allows you to attach this cable with a trigger mechanism on it, and that allows you to shoot 1 frame per second. That's really useful if you're shooting animations, like stop motion animation or even animation cells, and you need to click, one at a time. Very cool. So if you're into stop motion and you want to shoot 16mm, or even an animator and you want to shoot 16mm, you're doing cell animation or paper cutout or something like that, definitely consider giving 16mm a shot. I imagine you could make some really amazing stuff if you're doing stop motion on 16mm. So the 240EE actually doesn't need any power source to operate. If you have a way to measure light and meter light, then you don't need any of the electronic or the EE functions on this camera, most of which I don't really think work. I've come across a handful of people who actually have the 240EE, and not a single one of them has had the electric eye working. This is usually like a double whammy of oxidization in the battery housing, and the battery itself is an unusual voltage battery that you need to run the electric eye, and I think it's really hard to find that battery. I think some people have kind of made their own or trying to taken batteries out of other electronics and components and rewired them so that they can work it in the electric eye. If you know anyone who has one working, drop a comment below. I'd love to pick their brains about a couple things, but yeah, it's pretty rare to find one that's in working condition with the electric eye. To run the motor without any electric, it doesn't need one at all. This is a crank motor. A lot of these old film cameras are going to be crank. So I'm only going to do this once because it's not good to run the motor without film inside. The film actually tightens the motor and tightens some of those gears. When you don't have film inside and you run it, those gears can become loose over time and you can ruin them. But I'll give it 1, 2, 3 cranks, lock it in there. So once it's cranked, you actually have a little meter right here that tells you the spring motor, how wound it is. It's this top barometer right here. The bottom one is how much film you have left. Once it's in there, it starts counting it and knows the 100 feet and then counts it down from there. And then to actually roll your film, to actually get a shot, it's this little trigger mechanism right here. Let me try to pull it like that so you can see. It pulls down and you can hear that. And it's done. That's it. Only wound it a little bit. If this thing is fully wound, fully cranked up, I believe you get about 30 seconds of runtime. So the film stocks we're going to be testing today are both Canon stocks. I picked these up at Pro 8mm in Burbank. Wonderful place, great people, love Pro 8mm. They sell both 8mm and 16mm film kits, as well as cameras and other accessories. They're a really fantastic resource for anyone who's interested in getting into film. The first stock we're going to be shooting today is going to be this one. It's Kodak Ektachrome 100D. I'm a huge fan of this stock. I believe the show Euphoria uses Ektachrome. It's a really it's a vintage stock. They brought it back recently. Kodak stopped making it for a while, and then they brought it back. I don't know exactly why they brought it back, but they brought it back, and it's a really popular stock. I know a lot of music videos like to use it. I believe the film Three Kings with George Clooney and Ice Cube was shot on Ektachrome. Don't quote me on that. I'll look into it and find out for sure. If I'm wrong, I'll put a big false over my face. And for many of you, this is going to be a quick review, but I'm going to do a quick recap on what a lot of this means as far as like the 100 and the D that's on here. So the 100 refers to the ISO, or the sensitivity of the film. The more sensitive the film is, the less light that's going to be required to expose the film, but more grain will be apparent after post-processing. Lower ISO films are going to require more light to get an exposure, but they'll have less grain. For example, properly exposed 50D film is going to have way less grain than properly exposed 500T film, which is the second stock we're going to be testing today. And that's the 500T right here. And I'm very excited about this one. This is where we're going to get to see some of our grain. I'm going to be a little crazy and take this out on the streets. And we're going to take this over to the $1 Million Theater here in downtown Los Angeles and see if we can get some exposures at night. If I'm pushing it where it seems like it's going to be really hard to get an exposure, I might have to do something that's called pushing the film. You can push or pull your film, which is part of the development process, where they can essentially add to the exposure or take away from the exposure. So if I'm filming in the dark and I know I'm just like right there, like I'm just there, the film might be a little dark when I get it, I can ask the lab, can you push the film like one stop and try to get me a little bit more out of it? This isn't always ideal. I think it'll wash out the stock. You get more grain. It's not what you want to do. I might have to do it. We'll see how it comes out. But I'm hoping this theater is going to be bright enough that I can shoot in the lobby way and take advantage of it and really get some cool shots for you. Now, both of the stocks we talked about have a different ending to them. We have 100D and 500T. So what do the T and the D stand for? Well, they refer to the film's color temperature. All film stock is balanced for a certain kind of light. What that means is that the film is designed to look correct under either tungsten light, which is like warm indoor light, that's what you get out of a light bulb, or daylight. And daylight is the color of the sun in the middle of the day. It's kind of a blue light. If you use the wrong film for the lighting that you're shooting in, you'll get a shift in color. Sometimes this isn't bad. Some filmmakers use this to an effect and you get some cool stuff. You get green looks, things like that. I'm going to shoot this 500T at night outdoors, and I believe we're going to shoot it outside in the streets of LA. We have LED lighting here, and I believe the LED lights are like 3,500 Kelvin. Don't quote me on that. They're not the warmest, but they are closer to standard tungsten. And then when we're actually inside the $1 Million Theater, I believe their entrance is really tungstenly lit. It's an old movie palace. So we'll shoot around in there and by their marquee and their box office. So with the 500T, white should look white. If we have someone there and they're wearing a white t-shirt, that should come out looking traditionally white. If I shot the 100D in there and all the lights are tungsten and they're warm, they're incandescent. Let's say they are 2,700. That's the color temperature of the lights inside. That's old-fashioned light bulb, very orange. If I shot the 100D in there, everything would be orange. Well, not everything, excuse me. The whites would come out very orange. Everything would have that color shift towards orange. And you might not necessarily want that. So the loading process is going to be different on all of these cameras. It's always going to be the hardest part about doing this whole thing. This is where everything can go really bad really quick. So make sure to take your time. Don't do this in the rush. Don't do this if you're flustered or if you're overly tired. You're going to want to be really careful and clear-minded. You're going to want to think about what you're doing each and every step of the way. Double, triple check what you're doing. If you do it a fifth or sixth time to check what you're doing, that's even better. Like most tasks that involve lenses and cameras, you're going to want to do this in a really clean, light-controlled environment. So you'll need to pick your frame rate on the side of the camera right here, like I was showing you. For these tests, we decided to shoot at 24 frames per second. This gives us a little over 2 minutes of usable film per roll. If you want to find out how much usable film you're going to get per roll, Kodak has a film calculator on their website, or you can just Google the Kodak film calculator. You can punch in your stock and how much film you have, what frame rate you're going to shoot at, and it'll let you know how much usable film you're going to get. You'll need to crank the handle on the side of the camera, like I mentioned, to get the motor wound up. And then once it's fully wound, you got about 30 seconds of roll time before you're going to need to crank it again. But before you hit that record button, you start exposing the film. Before you do anything, you're going to need to measure light and make sure everything is correct in order to get a proper exposure. This is probably the single most important part of shooting film, metering. So there's not a lot of latitude for messing up when you shoot film. So accuracy is really, really key. When you meter, you're going to want to meter accurate. You're going to want to have someone who knows what they're doing it for you, and double and triple check it. This is the light meter I use here. It's the Sekonic 478. So a really good standard meter. A lot of people have this light meter. Turning it on right here, see if we can get it. There we go. And let's get a reading. Let's see. Right now, so just to give you some feedback, a little inside baseball. I'm shooting right now. What you're looking through is an FX3, and I'm shooting at the base ISO of 12,800. So the ISO is really cranked up high on this bad boy. I'm well exposed in this room. I believe I'm about a stop over on my exposure on camera. I metered it using the Sony metering on the camera. Works great. I always do that. When you're shooting film, you don't have anything to meter from. The camera's not going to have a light meter inside. Some do, but even the ones that do, I don't believe people trust them all that much. So you're going to definitely want to use a light meter. So to just get an example, right now where I'm sitting, I'm getting a great exposure at 12,800 ISO on the FX3. But if we shoot this film stock in here, this is my 100D. If I was going to get a shot of me sitting right here, am I properly exposed? Could we get it with this camera, which opens up all the way to 1.9, f1.9, excuse me. So let me get my reading. Bam. And look at that. f1.4. We'd be a little bit too dark right here for us to get an exposure. You might be able to push the film from there, but I don't know, it's getting a little risky. I don't know, I've never done it. I've never pushed or pulled 16 millimeter film, so I just don't know. If there's anyone who has before and you want to give some feedback and advice in the comments, we'd really appreciate that. But that's just a little test to also show you how much light you need to really expose film. It's not going to be easy. You're going to need to film in really bright, well-exposed places. If you don't have light kits and you don't have access to light kits or lighting equipment, best bet is probably to just shoot in the daytime. Take advantage of the sunlight and just shoot outdoors and find good spots, try to get the light behind your subject and film it that way. So here we are. This is the scariest part about the whole process. This is going to be loading the film. The Bell & Howell 240EE is one of the easiest cameras to load as far as 16 millimeters or even 8 millimeters camera go for that reason. One of the reasons is when you load up cameras, you need to have a loop in them. That loop actually allows a release of tension on the spool so that when it's running, it won't snap. The Bell & Howell 240EE does that automatically. So I'm going to open it up right here. And then see when we open up the case, we just loosen these two dials right here. And we can just pop that open. And as you can see here, inside the 240EE, there's actually instructions. And they kind of give you a breakdown of the steps you're going to need to take before you actually load your film in there. So we're going to take a look at this, and we're going to just go through everything step by step. Take our time, not be in a rush. And then just another quick note, for those of you watching on this, I'm using two cameras right now. This camera that you're seeing me out of right now is an FX3. I'm shooting this at 800 ISO. You can see I've got a good exposure, 800 ISO. I'm just using a little bit of a fill light over here. Right here on the table, this camera that we're seeing right now, bam, bam, pointing at it, I have this one cranked up to 12,800 ISO, and it's all the way open. The reason being is it's actually a little bit darker down where my hands are down here and way lighter up here. We just don't want to do this in a really bright exposed area. You want to be able to see what you're doing, but you don't want it to be so bright that it's going to actually affect the film. So the specific stock we're going to be shooting today is going to be ISO 100 D Ektachrome, and that's going to be this film right here. Ektachrome is a really awesome stock. You get really vibrant, cool colors. We're going to test it out here in the studio. We're going to set up a couple backdrops here behind me. We'll do some different colors. We might mix some color temperatures and lighting to see what happens. For the most part, I'll probably keep the lighting daylight. I'm going to try to light accurate. I don't want to mess with too much of that stuff. When we shoot the 500T later on tonight, we're going to be shooting that on the streets. We're going to be filming that in a movie theater. Most of the environments we're going to be filming in, we're not going to be able to control the lighting. So we'll be experimenting with that 500T a lot more than we will with the this 100D. This 100D is going to be used here in studio. It's really kind of to see what we can get out of it, make sure our camera even works. This is the first time I've ever put film into this camera. So we maybe get a big roll of nothing back. Who knows? We'll see. So the very first step with this, step number one, if you saw this here, is wind the camera completely. Now that's going to be back here. So I'll go ahead and crank this bad boy up. And there we go, fully locked. You can hear it, you can feel it. And then right here, I'll see if I can get in focus, but you can see it actually says the film spool right there. It's actually a spring motor is what it says, but it's completely wound, fully wound, all the way tight. All right, so now flip the camera back over. Here's what we're looking at. I've got this Sharpie and tape. I'm going to tape off the edges to make sure there's no light leak. And then I brought this Sharpie just so I can write the film stock on it. So I know that's just a personal thing for me, just to stay organized. But we got this. Now let's look at step number two. Back to this bad boy. Put it right about there. And step number two is open the counter. Open the counter feeler, place full spool on film on upper spindle. All right, so here's where we're gonna get to the film part. This is the counter reel. This is actually what counts the film. So what you're gonna do is actually open it like that, bam. Once the roll of film is here in the top part, we'll close that and it's gonna sit on the film. That's actually what's counting the film. And that's gonna let you know how much you have left right down there. So, let's open that up. And then it says to place full spool of film on upper spindle. So let's do that now. This is the moment of truth. This is the scary moment. We're gonna take our film right here. We're gonna open this up. Oh my God. Scary, scary. I'm gonna flip this real quick. Sorry guys. I'm trying to do this upside down so that you guys can see what I'm doing. But I might have to take some stuff off screen. Yep, there we go. So we have our roll of film right here. Comes in this plastic thing. There we go. That's our roll of film. It comes in this little white, I believe, protective thing just in case so you don't get any light leaks. Have that. There we go. All right. And like I said, this is the first time for me too, guys, so I might completely screw this up. I might be a moron. There seems to be this kind of yellow tape protective film over it. Something right here. It's kind of neat. Very beautiful. Look at this. Eastman Kodak Company. Beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful. So sorry guys, I'm trying to figure out what to do. All right, so it was what I thought. So here we go. To find the end of this film, you just peel this tape off. You just peel that off right there. Boom. And look at that. We have the end of the film. So there's like, that's the photosensitive side. This is the non-photosensitive side. And I'm going to just peel that piece of tape completely off. I'm going to put it on my hand here because I think I might be able to actually just put that onto the red tape afterwards, so I know which rolls in there. So let's take a quick second. I'm going to put this film in here, and I'm going to put it back in its box just for the moment, just so I can demonstrate something for you guys. But one of the great things about the 240EE is that it actually gives you directions. It gives you a path of where the spool should go. And let me get rid of the take-up reel. But if you see it should go this way, it's going to roll into the thing right there, into the take-up right there, go through here, and then come out there. In a perfect world, this should go by no problem. And I'm actually going to take out this empty spool. This one actually doesn't need to be in there yet. But let me see, yeah. Before we get to it, I just want to show you something. Once the film is in there, see if I can get this in focus. Come on, come on. Almost far enough away. So right there, in the sprocket, there's this little like slot divot. You're actually going to put the film in there in the bottom when it's in the take-up, and that's what's going to wind. So when it's rolling, it's going to re-roll in here so that your unexposed film at the top here, once it gets exposed here, it's going to go to here. And when you're done, you'll take this out somewhere nice and dark and safe, and then you'll put that back into this case, and then you'll deliver it back to wherever you're getting your film developed. Mailing it in, whatever your case may be. But let's do this. Let's get to the scary part. Let's load this film. So let's get back to this, open it back up, pull this little tray out, and I'm gonna be very careful so that I don't unwind the film. Oh shit. A little bit unwound there. So, as we can see, we just gotta follow the lines. Put this in here. Find kind of sprockets as they gotta line up. They're a little tricky sometimes. Why not lining up? Come on. Funny enough, there's a couple other videos where I've seen people load film to this camera, and all of them have issues getting this sprocket on. It just, there it goes. It's just a little finicky. You kind of have to give it a little twist to get it right into place. So then you get your film. You put it right in there. You can see there's an arrow that guides you in. Stick it right in the take-up. I'm actually going to look in there as I do it. Hold this up a little bit. I'm going to adjust my focus. So I think it's in there. And what we're going to do next is, oh, it's not. I'm going to help it in there. We're going to see if firing this trigger motor can catch it. Okay. I think it's got it. Let's see. We're almost there. And look at that. The film came through. Came out the other end. I'm hitting this real careful. I don't want to roll too much film. I want to try to save as much as possible. But now that we have this through here, as you can see, the film is going the right direction. It's following these arrows. It should wind up the proper way. So now what I'm going to do is get this part, and there's that little divot inside I mentioned. I can find it with my finger. It's right there. See if I can get focus on it again. But it's right inside there. So I'm going to get the film and put this end in there. All right. I'm going to kneel down for a second, get close. One thing, I'm not extremely experienced with motion picture film, but I actually shot 35mm film in the past. Film, while it's a little delicate, it's actually kind of tough too. So you don't have to entirely like baby the roll. You can kind of really just gonna get it in there if you have to, especially this part, because this part's not going to be usable. So don't worry about it when you have to kind of just force it in. You might have to bend it a little. It is what it is. Just get that film in there. Just the tiniest little crease. Hoping to get this closed up soon. I don't like this open and exposed. Or I'm having a little bit of trouble getting this film in here. So let me give myself a little bit more to work with. Maybe that'll help me. Here we go. And I think that is going to solve my problems. I just needed about another inch of film. Cool. So there we go. Put this one on here, and I think we're gonna have the same problem. So I just gotta give this a tiniest little twist. Boom. All right, went on there. Let's give this a little roll, see if this lines up properly. And what's going on? And it is. Boom. There we go. We have our film loaded. It's going right in. I'm gonna roll just a couple of feet for you guys so you can see it. There it goes, going from our unexposed to our exposed side. And now, the last couple parts. We're gonna close this. And now, everywhere around here is a potential light leak. Every part of the seam that was just opened is a potential light leak. So I'm going to go ahead and tape that off here. And I personally decided to use this red tape because red means stop, red means warning, red means danger. I'll know. Make sure this roll is completely shot and done before I actually take this off. But that's it. I mean, it seems scarier than it is. We don't know if I did it right actually yet until we shoot this film and get it exposed. But I've shot film in the past, photography film. It's a little scary. There's a little bit of magic to it, but it's also a craft. So if you just follow the rules, follow the guidelines, do things step by step and do things properly, you should have no problems. Let me get this tape off. You can see I got a nice edge of tape right here all the way around on that part, but as you can see, you'll see we still got to put some all the way around there. So let me get another two. Go about a foot at a time. Overlap a little bit. About there, I'm gonna rip this here. You know, take your time with this. Don't feel the need to rush any of these things. I mean, especially if this is your first or second roll. You're new to this thing. This is very expensive. You don't want to have an expensive mistake. There we go. I got it all pretty taped up. I think that is it. Where it was open. Yeah, there we go. Taped all the way around. I got a little overlapping there. Just a little over there, but yeah, there should be no light leaks from this thing. Should work just how I want it to work. That piece of tape I put on my hand, it seems to have fallen off. You could potentially rip this off the top of the packaging. Let's see if that come clean, but the most important part did, which is this little sticker right here, 100D. So let's put this on the back right where I can see it. Bam, there we go. So now I know which film stock I'm shooting. I'll just write it on here too. 100D. Bam. And we have a fully loaded camera. You can see right there. Tells us we have about 100 feet left, which is perfect. And that's that for loading. That's the scariest part of the whole process. Now it is time for us to shoot this film. So we're going to go around and expose a little bit of this film. So we're about to roll here. One of the most important steps to shooting film is getting exposures. So we're going to expose Mr. Red here and see what it is. I'm getting a reading of f4.5 on this side. I'm getting a reading of about f2.5 on that side. And then we're getting a reading of about f5.6 for his hair. So I'm going to actually set on the camera that aperture to about f4. I think that's a safe spot. His hair will be a little overexposed, which will be nice, but everything else should be nice and shaped. The left side of his face will have a little more shadow than the right side, and the right side, which is being lit by the key, that's what we're going to go ahead and expose to.
After we filmed this roll, me, Mr. Red, and producer April decided to hit the streets of downtown LA and head over to the $1 Million Theater, one of the most beautiful theaters in all of downtown Los Angeles and the world, frankly. And we were able to catch a 35 millimeter print of Blade Runner. Thank you, Secret Film Club.
So my final thoughts are, shooting film isn't easy at all, and it's not cheap either. But the best things in life aren't usually easy or cheap. So if you want to get into film, definitely do it. Start picking up 100-foot rolls. If you have any questions or comments, drop them below. I really love to hear from all of you. Love to hear what you think about the footage that we shot. And don't forget to hit those like and subscribe buttons. Really helps us a lot. We're going to produce a lot more content like this. I'm probably going to shoot some more film tests. I'll do some tests of some different stocks, and we might do some videos that are specific to stocks, and we'll do some night shooting, some daytime shooting. We'll shoot tungsten light, daylight, just all sorts of stuff. So remember to keep film alive, and see you next time.